If you don't know anything about AI, but you still want to know how it works, then stick around because I'm about to break down 10 hours of AI courses in just 15 minutes. And no, you don't need to know how to code in order to understand this video because I'm going to use some very practical concepts to help you understand the basics of artificial intelligence. And with this newfound knowledge, you'll be able to use it to get better at AI tools like ChatGPT, Google's Bard, or Midjourney. But more importantly, it would definitely help you come up with the unique business idea that could make you rich in this new AI boom. Because as the saying goes, AI is this century's version of electricity. And one of the biggest companies to benefit from the electricity boom was Coca-Cola. So just like they used electrical inventions to scale their business into an empire, you can use AI inventions to help build your business empire as well. But in order to do that, you're going to need some basic understanding for how AI works. But don't worry, because by the time you're done with this video, you'll have a firm understanding for how the entire field of AI works. And you'll even know what all of these words mean. Alright, so let's start with the most obvious question possible. What is artificial intelligence? Well, to keep it simple, it's an entire field of study within the realm of technology. So just like biology is to science, artificial intelligence is to technology. But what really makes AI tick? Like, what exactly is needed in order to bring AI to life? Well, the entire field of AI can be boiled down to three main parts: data, models, and compute. Now, included in each one of these parts are a bunch of different terms like analytics, algorithms, and GPUs. But in order for me to explain what all these words mean, I'm going to use a really simple analogy to explain each concept. So, from here on, I want you to think of the entire field of artificial intelligence as food. Because just like AI, we can break the entire food industry down into three main parts too: ingredients, meals, and equipment. So for example, everything that we eat can always be boiled down to the raw materials or the ingredients that it's made of. So that includes everything from fruit to meat to vegetables or grain. Well, in the world of artificial intelligence, this is what data represents: the ingredients. So just like all food is nothing more than a combination of ingredients that's cooked and prepared in different ways to feed a person, AI is nothing more than a combination of data that is analyzed and processed in different ways to train an AI. So for tools like ChatGPT, its data comes from lots of different texts like websites, books, or even movie scripts. But there is some speculation that this isn't always true for OpenAI. For example, take a look at where Elon says OpenAI is getting its data from.
One of the things about training on data has been this idea that you're not going to train, or these things are not being trained on people's copyrighted information. Historically, that's been the concept.
Yeah, that's a huge lie. These AIs are all trained on copyrighted data, obviously.
So you think it's a lie when OpenAI says that this is not, none of these guys say they're training on copyrighted data?
Oh, that's a lie.
It's a lie, straight up.
It's a straight up lie.
So then,
obviously, it's been trained on copyrighted data.
So in this new AI world, there's going to be a high demand for ethical and clean data, just like there's a high demand for ethical and clean food. So that's data. The next part of AI is something called a model, which is like the brain for the AI. And if we're keeping with our analogy, I want you to think of a model as meals. They're the final output of the raw ingredients after it's been cooked. But that doesn't really tell the whole story, because technically you can take the same exact raw ingredients and make a bunch of different meals with them. For example, if I gave you beef and potatoes, you can take those same two things and make a bunch of different meals with, like steak and baked potatoes, or roast beef and mashed potatoes, or a burger and fries. But let me ask you this: what's the only thing that determines the exact meal that comes from raw ingredients? You guessed it, the recipe, which is nothing more than just a set of instructions of how to cook and prepare the raw ingredients, right? And that's what algorithms are for AI. They're the recipe, the rules or patterns for how we process the data. So just like your grandma's sweet potato recipe is completely different from your co-worker's sweet potato recipe, TikTok's algorithms for short video is completely different from Instagram's algorithms for short video. Now let's say I gave you my grandma's secret sweet potato pie recipe and all of the ingredients that you need in order to make it. And let's assume that you already know how to cook, but you still don't have any experience in making pies, let alone sweet potato pies from my grandma. Well, guess what? This still means that you have to learn how to make my grandma's pies, right? Meaning you will have to follow the instructions, make a pie, have someone taste it, and give you feedback on how the pie came out. Well, if you understand that concept, then congratulations. You now understand what machine learning means. But now let me ask you this. Let's say I gave you all the ingredients that you needed, my grandma's secret recipe, and all the necessary equipment to make my grandma's pies. What's the one thing you want that could help you learn how to make my grandma's pies faster? Yep, you guessed it. You want my grandma right there with you, teaching you how to make those pies, right? Or at the very least, you'd want to taste or see a pie made by her just so you can know what it looks like. You see, if you had some type of guidance helping you learn how to cook, then this is what we call supervised machine learning in the world of AI. So by contrast, unsupervised learning would be if I just gave you a bunch of the same ingredients used in my grandma's pies and asked you to experiment with it to create a bunch of different combinations, and somehow you stumble across a new dish for sweet potato souffle instead of sweet potato pies. That's unsupervised learning. Now, I know what you're thinking. If that's supervised and unsupervised learning, then what's deep learning? Well, that's easy. Deep learning is just like cooking a gourmet meal. Now think about it. Once I use the words gourmet meal, it automatically adds a layer of quality that you expect from the meal, right? Because everybody knows that a gourmet cheeseburger ain't the same as a standard cheeseburger.
This is a tasty burger.
Well, if that's the case, then standard machine learning models aren't the same as deep learning models, because deep learning models automatically assumes that the final output has already solved for high quality data and high quality algorithm. And it's all of these different things that determine what a model is, in our case, a meal. And just like there's a bunch of different meals that do different things for you, there's a bunch of different models that do different things as well. For example, ChatGPT uses a popular model called a transformer. Think of a transformer model like a really smart robot that can read a lot of books super fast. And it can remember everything it just read and use it to answer questions, write stories, or even change one language into another.
We discovered that with very few amounts of prompting in Bengali, it can now translate all of Bengali. So now all of a sudden, we now have a research effort where we're now trying to get to 1,000 languages.
But hold up, most models can be classified as one of two types, pre-trained or fine-tuned. Now, in order for me to explain this concept, let me ask you something. Do you remember this scene from When Harry Met Sally? You know, when Harry and Sally sat down to order a meal, and Harry takes one look at the menu and does this.
What can I get you?
I'll have a number 3.
You see, when Harry orders his meal straight off the menu with no request for changes or alterations, he's saying he'll take the meal exactly how they'll make it. Well, this is exactly what it's like to work with a pre-trained model. So I want you to think of pre-trained models like the tried and true meals on the menu. They're standard meals made for an average consumer of that restaurant. And for a lot of companies, having a pre-trained model, or especially in today's day and age, a pre-trained transformer, is perfectly fine. But as any waitress will tell you, for every Harry, there's almost always a Sally.
I'd like the chef salad, please, with the oil and vinegar on the side and the apple pie a la mode.
You know, someone that will start out by asking for a pre-trained model, but they want it fine-tuned.
But I'd like the pie heated, and I don't want the ice cream on top. I want it on the side, and I'd like strawberry instead of vanilla if you have it. If not, then no ice cream, just whipped cream, but only if it's real. If it's out of a can, then nothing.
You see, businesses like Google that sells models to companies have to make both pre-trained and fine-tuned models. Which brings us to the last part of AI, which is something called compute. Think of this as the real-life hardware used to power and train the model that analyzes the data. Now I want you to think of compute as the real-life hardware that's used to help you cook. I want you to think of things like ovens, stoves, microwaves, and blenders, and how they all do different things, but most importantly, they help you cook and prepare the raw ingredients faster and better. Well, that's exactly what compute does for AI. It's the power that helps us analyze the data better and faster. And this compute can only be powered by these super rare advanced microchips called GPUs, to which 92% of the chips that power every AI tool in the world are manufactured by one company in Taiwan, which, by the way, is one of the main reasons that the US and China are beefing, which I promise I'll do a deep dive on that in another video. I just want you to think about compute as the muscle that does all of the heavy lifting. It's the energy that powers the AI, allowing it to learn. And it's this company that has damn near monopoly on the entire industry that is compute, which I did a whole video on that you can go and check out. Now, all of these three parts, they work together like a team. The dataset provides the knowledge, the model is the brain that makes sense of it, and the compute is the muscle, the energy that powers it all. Now, when and only when you combine all three, you can build something really smart, something that learns, something like a chatbot. that's pre-trained on text from a bunch of different places, that uses a transformer model that processes the text and generates a response. Only thing left is to get its tool a name that explains what it does, but that's easy to remember. And of course, once over 100 million people starts using this chatting, generative, pre-trained transformer, they're all going to want the same thing. Because everyone who uses this thing, whether it's people or businesses or governments, they're all going to want their own customized, generative, pre-trained transformer that's trained on the knowledge that they wanted to have. But there's only one problem, like building a custom GPT is really, really hard. Until now. Because OpenAI have just launched a new custom GPT store that will allow people like you and me to build customized GPTs on anything we want. In short, I want you to think of custom GPTs like having a trained gourmet chef in your kitchen that's willing to cook you anything you tell it to cook. And all you gotta do is give them the raw ingredients and tell them what you like. But the point being this, the AI boom is here. And understanding how it works is crucial to your survival in the workforce, as an entrepreneur, and even how you invest.
There's only two types of companies in this world, Morgan. Those who are great at AI and everybody else. If you don't know AI, you are going to fail.
So how can you get rich in the AI boom? Well, let's take a look at our analogy again. If data represents raw ingredients, well then there's going to be farmers and grocery stores for AI. And if models represents the meal industry, then there's going to be recipe books, cooking shows, and fast food chains. And if compute represents equipment, then there's going to be top-of-the-line kitchenware, stoves, and blenders. So a better question to ask is this: if you could travel back in time 100 years, how would you get rich off the food industry? So there it is, the entire world of AI in under 15 minutes. But before my ML engineers jump in my comments and tear me to shreds, look, I'm trying to summarize all of AI for people who don't code in under 15 minutes. So please, cut me some slack. Now, if you want to know more about the world of AI and how it works, but you wanted it explained in a very practical manner like I did in this video, then I highly recommend that you click on one of these. Thanks again for watching, and see you in the next one.